Hi there. In this video, we will tell you how to complete a CIS tax return in 2026 and avoid costly HMRC mistakes. Watch it.
You know, getting your head around the UK's construction industry scheme, it can feel like a total minefield, can't it? Get it wrong and you could be looking at some pretty serious penalties. That's why we've worked with the tax experts over at My Tax Accountant to put together this straightforward guide on CIS, especially with the huge changes that are coming our way in 2026. Right, let's get into it.
Let's start with a number. Over £3,000. Just let that sink in for a moment. That's the kind of penalty HMRC can hit you with for a serious slip-up on your CIS return. It's a shocking figure, and honestly, it's one that trips up thousands of hard-working contractors and subcontractors across the UK every single year. The cost of getting this wrong isn't just about the money. It's the stress and the time that you just can't get back.
So why the urgency? Why are we talking about this now? Because there is a huge mandatory shift coming in April 2026 called Making Tax Digital. And this isn't just a little tweak to the system. No, this is a complete digital overhaul of how you report your taxes. The old ways of doing things, paper records, spreadsheets, they're about to become obsolete. And if your business isn't ready, the risk of facing those penalties we just talked about is going to get even higher.
Okay, so before we can properly tackle what's coming in the future, we have to be absolutely crystal clear on the present. So we're going to start with a really simple breakdown of what the Construction Industry Scheme, or CIS as you'll hear it called, actually is.
At its heart, CIS is basically HMRC's way of clamping down on tax evasion in the construction world. It makes contractors deduct tax straight from their subcontractors' payments and send it directly to HMRC. This just ensures that tax gets collected properly in an industry where, work can often be very short-term or based on contracts.
Okay, so who exactly needs to be on top of all this? Well, it really breaks down into three main groups. First, you've got your mainstream contractors. Think of your typical building firms and property developers. Second, there are businesses called deemed contractors. Now, these aren't construction companies, but they spend more than £3 million a year on construction. A good example would be a big supermarket chain that's always refitting its stores. And third, of course, are the subcontractors themselves. The plumbers, the electricians, all the trades doing the actual work. The only real exception here is just a private individual having work done on their own house.
Right, let's switch gears and talk specifically to the contractors out there. If you're the one paying subcontractors for their work, listen up, because this next part is absolutely vital. These are your responsibilities, and frankly, they're non-negotiable. Every single month, there's a 5-step rhythm you have to get into. First, you have to verify every single subcontractor with HMRC. Second, you deduct the correct amount of tax. Now this is crucial, it's only from the labor part of their invoice, not from the cost of materials. So if an invoice is for £1,000, say 600 for labor and 400 for materials, you only make the deduction on that 600 quid. Third, you pay them the remaining amount and give them a deduction statement. Fourth, you file your monthly return by the 19th. And finally, you pay all that deducted tax over to HMRC by the 22nd. It's a strict routine, month in, month out.
And this is exactly why that first step, verifying your subby, is so important. The amount you have to deduct can be wildly different. If your subcontractor isn't registered for CIS with HMRC, you have to take off a massive 30%. If they're registered, it's the standard 20%. And if they have something called gross payment status, which we'll get to in a minute, you deduct nothing, zero. Getting this wrong can cause massive cash flow problems for everyone involved.
And here's something that honestly catches so many people out. Those deadlines? They are set in stone. If your monthly return is just one day late, HMRC can land you with an immediate £100 penalty. It doesn't even matter if you didn't pay any subcontractors that month. If a return is due, it has to be filed.
And believe me, that first £100 is just the warm-up act. The penalties really start to ramp up from there. After 2 months, it doubles to £200. Hit 6 months late, and it's 300 or 5% of the tax you owe, whichever is more. And if you're over a year late, well, that's when you can see it climb all the way up to that £3,000 figure, or even 100% of the tax owed. This is precisely why staying on top of your monthly filing is so important.
All right, so we've covered the contractor's duties. Now let's flip the coin and look at this from the subcontractor's point of view. If you're the one on the tools, the one getting paid, you've basically got two options for how you're treated: net status or gross status.
Now this is a really big deal for subcontractors because it directly impacts your cash flow. Under the standard net status, the contractor takes 20% tax off your labor payments. Now that can be helpful if you like to pay your tax as you go, but it definitely slows down the cash coming into your bank. On the other hand, gross status means you get paid 100% of your invoice, no deductions. That's fantastic for your immediate cash flow, but it also means you are completely responsible for what could be a pretty hefty tax bill at the end of the year.
So, how do you get on this gross payment list? It sounds great, right? Well, HMRC has 3 specific tests you absolutely have to pass. The business test is pretty simple. You've got to be a construction business in the UK with a business bank account. The turnover test means you need an annual turnover of at least £30,000 if you're a sole trader, or £100,000 for a limited company. But honestly, the big one is the compliance test. You need to have a perfect track record of filing and paying all your taxes on time. Even one little slip-up can mean you lose that status.
Okay, so a fair question is, what happens to all that money that's been deducted if you're on the net status? Has it just vanished? No, absolutely not. It's basically treated as a prepayment towards your final tax bill. So at the end of the tax year, when you do your self-assessment or your corporation tax return, you declare the total amount of CIS that's been deducted. HMRC then knocks that off what you owe. And if you've overpaid, you get a refund.
Okay, now that we're all on the same page with the basics, let's get to the real headline act. The massive Making Tax digital shakeup that's just around the corner. This is going to affect almost every single small business in construction, so you'll definitely want to hear this part.
Get your calendar out, circle it, highlight it, do whatever you need to do. April 2026. From that date, Making Tax Digital for income tax becomes law for any self-employed person, and that includes all you CIS subcontractors with an annual income over £50,000. This is not a choice, it's happening.
So what does this actually mean for you on a day-to-day basis? Well, let's compare the old way with the new way. Right now, you probably gather all your paperwork once a year for your tax return. Under MTD, that's gone. Instead, you'll be sending 4 digital updates to HMRC every year. That old shoebox of receipts under the bed? Forget it. Digital records are now mandatory. And probably the biggest change of all, using special MTD-compliant accounting software is no longer an option, it's a legal requirement. So with these massive changes coming and some pretty scary penalties if you get things wrong, making sure you're accurate has never, ever been more important. So let's talk about how you can stay on top of your CIS compliance, both now and in this new digital future.
But let's be realistic for a second. We're all human, right? Mistakes happen. So what happens if you file your return and then have that sinking feeling you've made a mistake? Maybe you put in the wrong deduction or forgot to include a subcontractor?
Okay, deep breath. The good news is it's usually fixable. HMRC lets you amend returns you've already sent. You can do it through their website or, even easier, through your accounting software. The key word here is quickly. As soon as you spot an error, you need to get it corrected and resubmit it. If you're quick and honest about it, you're very unlikely to get a penalty.
And this brings me to my single biggest piece of advice for anyone dealing with CIS, especially with MTD on the horizon. Start using modern cloud accounting software that has a specific CIS module built in. It just automates so much of the heavy lifting. It can check a subby's status with HMRC in seconds, work out the right deductions, and create the monthly returns for you. It massively reduces the risk of simple human error.
And if you're looking at software, here's a quick checklist of the non-negotiables. It absolutely has to link directly with HMRC for verification. It should calculate deductions for you automatically and let you file returns right there in the app. It must create those vital payment statements for your subcontractors. And, most critically, it has to keep all your records digitally in a way that's 100% compliant with the new MTD rules.
And really, this is the main point I want you to take away from all of this. Getting ready for MTD, it isn't just a chore to tick off a list to avoid fines. Adopting these digital tools now will actually make your business more efficient and more robust. It gives you a real-time view of your finances, it protects your cash flow from nasty surprises, and it frees up your time to focus on what you're actually good at, running your business.
Okay, just before we wrap up, a quick but important disclaimer. This has all been for general guidance. Your business is unique, so you really should get professional advice tailored specifically to you before making any big financial decisions. If you do need expert help with CIS, getting ready for MTD, or just your tax returns in general, the team at My Tax Accountant are ready to help. You can email them at info@mytaxaccountant.co.uk or just give them a call on 020 857 8531.
I really hope you found that helpful. Look, the question isn't if your business will adapt to these changes, it's about how well you can use them to your advantage. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the My Tax Accountant channel for more clear, practical advice to help your business succeed.